so they must still be talking someplace. You have a quorum? In compliance with Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, entitled Open Public Meeting, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as specified in the Act. Proper notice of this public meeting was provided in notice. Said notice was posted at the entrance of the board office, mailed to the Nutley Sun, the Star Ledger, the North Jersey Herald News, and the Nutley Journal, mailed to the Nutley Township Clerk, advertised in the Nutley Sun on January 17, 2013, and posted on the district website. This is an official meeting. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In consideration of all here present and in recognition of the importance of these proceedings, it is requested that all cell phones and pages be turned off or silenced for the duration of the meeting. Okay. Roll call, Mr. Kruger.
Mrs. Dancheck Martin? Here. Ms. Flynn? Here. Mr. Klein? Here. Mr. Gupta?
Here.
Dr. Reed? Ms. Russo?
Here.
Mr. Scalera?
Here.
Mrs. Spizzato?
Here.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Here. That's okay. We can tolerate that. Approval, I'll take approval of the minutes and so on, please.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as distributed. I second that.
Thank you. Superintendent? I'm sorry, all in favor, Mr. Kuzo? Thank you, Tom.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're going to have the presentations right now, and Mrs. Napolitano?
Thank you, Mr. Lasnik, members of the board, and everyone present. Academically Speaking is an activity that's offered as part of the enrichment component of our Gifted and Talented program. It begins at the building level and is offered to all 5th and 6th grade students, eventually culminating into 2 district teams, both of which compete at the county level. This evening, we are honoring one of those teams who somehow were able to negotiate through the preliminaries, the quarterfinals, and the semifinal rounds, eventually reaching the final round of the County Academically Speaking Tournament and winning the 2nd place award for the Nutley School District. Please join me in congratulating these very talented young people. Ian Brown. Stephen Fidel. Sophia Nunez. And our captain, Jack Chrisman. The 2013 Essex County 2nd place champion.
Thank you very much, Mrs.
Thank you.
I certainly want to congratulate the students and the parents. I could imagine the time and energy that's put into raising wonderful children like that. Thank you very much for your time and effort. And again, congratulations. Mrs. Robert?
Good evening.
this year also made it to the final round. I don't think that people realize how difficult it is sometimes to get through all those rounds. And we are very proud of them. We're proud of the way they competed. We're proud of the way they conducted themselves. And certainly they were wonderful representatives for our school and our town. We'd like to thank them. We'd like to thank their parents. And we'd like to thank our principal, Mr. Courtwright, and our vice principal, Ms. Egan, for all their encouragement and support. And now we'd like to introduce you to our team. Some of our team members, because of other obligations, these are very busy children in the 7th and 8th grade, are not here with us tonight, but we will read their names.
Declan Intendola. Alex DiMartino. Sean Fitzpatrick. Frank Geltrude. Avril Wong. Stephanie Kalori. Nate Iverson. And William Stavriotis.
Also give them, can we borrow your trophy?
Ours is on display. No, it's the same. It looks basically.
It looks basically the same.
Everyone here loves the word. Thank you very much. I really congratulate you.
Just want to add my congratulations again to all the students, the parents, and thank the administrator, Mrs. Napolitano, Ms. Fryler, and Mrs. Nadardi for all your hard work. Definitely, regardless of place, it's an achievement every year. We provide these opportunities to the students and a new student to come.
You'll definitely be out of the debate team.
But I just want to say thank you again for everyone involved and congratulations to the students. It's fantastic to see you up here, and I hope it was a meaningful experience for you. It's nice to look out. Yeah, actually, you guys probably have homework. If you need to leave, you can feel free to do
You have the
so.
superintendent's permission to leave.
To do homework. Practice for next year's academically speaking.
Thank you.
For our next presentation, I've been saying it a lot recently, but I cannot believe that it's already May, going to be June. The school year has flown by. It is nice at board meetings sometimes when we have this many in attendance for the right reasons. It's good to see the faces of teachers that we don't even see sometimes in the classrooms, but I don't get to see as often as I would like. We're going to call our principals up one at a time to introduce our teachers of the year. And again, we believe we have phenomenal teachers in every building, in every classroom, but it's nice when we leverage what the state and county allow us to recognize some of them just a little bit more. And so I'd first like to call Ms. Ristel from Lincoln School.
Good evening, everyone. I have the honor tonight to present the Teacher of the Year Award to the recipient from Lincoln School. Lisa Palestina has been with us for 12 years. She is our lead LLD teacher for the special education students in our building. She has taken on the responsibility of handling the voluntary meetings of all of the staff members weekly to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that our students are getting the best that they can from our school. On top of that, she has also taken on the responsibilities of writing the language arts curriculum committee. She is on our instructional rounds team. She is a part of the Tier 1 of our language arts model curriculums. I have notes. She's a mentor to new teachers in the building, and on top of all of that, she is also a wife and a mother to 2 beautiful girls. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you to congratulate Lisa Palestine.
Thank you.
You're going to stay standing, Lisa. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Mr. Carney, come on up and share wrap with the school students, the teachers of the year.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And to all the students who have left to do homework, congratulations to them. Tonight's one of those nights in education where we look forward to all year long because we have the chance to take a moment to really thank those educators that we work so closely with and just recognize them in a setting such as this and thank them for all that they do to contribute to all of your children. And tonight, I'm very fortunate to talk about 2 people. One is our county recipient, Miss Gambaro, previous state award recipient in the past, who is always a consummate professional, does a wonderful job for all of our kids. I hear about it from the parents all the time, all the things that she's involved in. The list goes on and on, the new math program, and all the pilots that she always volunteers to head up. Has a hand in everything we do in the school, and never gets tired. Is there the first one there in the morning and leaves really when the custodian sends her home at the end of the night. And that is true. The last day of school last year in June, it was about 4:30. Now everybody's gone a while, except for Miss Gambaro. She's still there. Preparing, planning, reflecting, and always looking at what she could do better, what more she could do for her kids. And I know we certainly don't tell you that enough, but you are the best of the best, and we appreciate it. And this is a great group of fellow teachers to stand with, so come on down. The second person who I want to recognize as our state recipient, Mrs. April Vidiello. She is not here with us this evening, unfortunately. She's home and her and her husband are expecting their first child, so precluded her from coming this evening. But a member of the child study team. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the child study team, the child study team works with students individually, takes a look at some of their learning needs and many of their learning differences, and is a big advocate for sculpting their educational pathways. Mrs. Vidiello has rewritten the book about what it means to be that child study team member. She knows her students, knows what gets them motivated, and knows how to reset them back to becoming motivated when they lose that motivation. She spends her time and critiques her own work, again spends time reflecting on her own practice and tries to make it better. This is someone who I work very close with. I take great pleasure and pride in recommending her to our Board of Education as the state recipient. Again, Mrs. Vidiello.
Mrs. LaGuardia, bring it up.
when the law opened. Well, we're gonna keep it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to read a few notes I have so I truly capture what I want to say tonight because I may forget. It has been said, the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. For this reason and many more, it is an honor to present Tracy McCormick with the Governor's Teacher Award. Currently, Tracy is our fourth grade teacher, but during her 20-year tenure in Nutley School District, she has undertaken many leadership roles, a member of the school safety team, currently Cognetics leader, geography being coordinator, instructional round team member, and part of the social committee. While these roles are admirable, it is what Tracy does on a daily basis with her students that distinguishes her as Teacher of the Year. She puts kids first and is their greatest advocate. Tracy makes each and every student feel like he or she is special and has truly embraced the concept of partnership between home and family. She collaborates and communicates with families for the benefit of children. In addition, she brings forth a sense of professionalism and level-headedness in her daily interactions with her peers. She's a deep thinker and is not afraid to voice her opinion for the welfare of a child, and she offers solutions to those difficult situations and always uses her sense of humor to always make things better. She has truly earned the respect of myself and those around her as teacher and mom of 3 beautiful children and wife and daughter. It's a privilege for me to present Tracy McCormick with Teacher of the Year. We're proud of you, Tracy.
Mr. Jones, Washington School.
Good evening. Early January 2005, a young, excited teacher graduated and came to Washington School for the first time. She had a lot of ideas. She joined our strategies team. At that time it was called Basic Skills. She helped students in every grade level learn those essential things. She is always willing to go above and beyond what is expected of a great teacher. She does it on a daily basis. At the end of that year, and about 3 days before the new school year, Mrs. Erin Lennick had the opportunity to take a half-time kindergarten classroom, and she was busy setting up the entire room for kindergarten. And I received a word from the superintendent, said, please, let's move Erin to 6th grade. So although she never taught a day in kindergarten, she moved to 6th grade, and for the last 8 years, she has really crafted and molded those 12-year-old students at Washington School to be some of our most proudest in Nutley. Erin Lennick is what a professional. You bring a love of teaching and learning to not only the students at Washington School, but she also inspires the staff. She communicates well with the parents. You'll never find her at lunchtime. She's always helping someone in the library work on lesson plans or show them a new way to use Google Docs. She is really interested in technology. Mr. Levine, our technology person, has kind of combined with Mrs. Lennick to bring new exciting things to Washington School. Erin, you bring a breath of fresh air to our entire field of education. You get kids to take risks in learning, and we thank you as a member of Washington School and of Nutley.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mrs. Corolla, Yanko School.
Good evening. Working with so many fine educators, it's difficult to say that one will stand out among all the rest. I've worked with Janice Shom as a colleague for many years, and I've always appreciated what she did as a resource room teacher, planning special lessons for our special learners. This year, in my first year as principal, I got to appreciate even more what she has to do. It's not just planning coursework, but it's looking at every IEP, it's working with teachers at multiple grade levels, it's planning in-class support, it's planning replacement, it's coordinating to communicate with all the teachers, putting in countless hours working with schedules to make this work for all of these children, and that means so much. On top of all of that, she joined our configuration team to put our strategies into action and spent hours with that, meeting after school, visiting other schools to see what the best practices are in many places. And she takes a lead role in our Sunshine Committee, which is important because it keeps our teachers happy. It supports them in difficult times, and it's there to applaud their successes in all of the good times. And we truly all appreciate Janice Shom as our resource teacher at Yannicos School, and we applaud her tonight as our recipient.
Thank you, Mrs. Corral. Mr. Courtwright. Sorry, Mrs. Season.
I also have two individuals I would like to brag about tonight for their efforts and everything they do for the children in our school and the entire district. Mrs. Lillian D. Philippus has been in education for 23 years, all of them in Nutley, serving as a special education teacher in kindergarten through 8th grade. She began as an elementary resource room teacher in language arts and math. After several years in an elementary building, she moved to the middle school, where she has been ever since. Currently, Lillian works with our special education students in the inclusion language arts classrooms. She's an advocate for the students and a valuable resource for both teachers and the parents. Her interactions with the students can best be described as friendly, caring, and supportive. Her relationship with colleagues is characterized by mutual support and cooperation. In addition, she communicates with parents on a regular basis, keeping them abreast of their child's progress and responds to their needs and concerns. In addition to her classroom responsibilities, Lillian participates on several different district and school-wide committees and teams, making substantial contributions to all. This past school year, she served as teacher representative for the John H. Walker Middle School PTO. She's a member of our district-wide configuration team and a member of our building-wide middle school model team. When asked about how she chose a career in education, she shared she wanted to do something that could impact young lives. She understands that each child possesses unique ways of learning, and realizing that each student can achieve success through different ways, she has become that person who challenges and supports them, lifting them to new heights where they realize they have the power to succeed. By instilling confidence in them and providing the tools to be independent, she has helped her students reach their fullest potential. Lillian D. Philippus is truly an asset to the John H. Walker Middle School. Please join me in congratulating her for all of her efforts this year and in the past. The John H. Walker Middle School 2012-2013 nominee for Department of Education Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Lillian D. Philippus. Next, I'd like to talk about Mrs. Joyce Wood. Mrs. Wood has been in education for 27 years, 20 of them in Nutley, starting off as a special education teacher, then moving to her current position as a guidance counselor. Joyce works with our students, providing academic as well as social and emotional support. She's a valuable resource for the students, teachers, and parents of the John H. Walker Middle School community. Joyce communicates with parents on a regular basis, keeping them abreast of their child's progress in response to their needs and concerns. The following is an excerpt from an email sent by a parent of a student of Mrs. Wood has worked with this past school year. I eliminated all the descriptors, but feel as though you can still get the meaning of the message. And you need to know this is not something that she shared with me because she's too humble to do that. I actually was copied on it as well, but I felt it was important to share. Mrs. Wood, thank you so much for the immediate attention you have given to any and all of my child's needs. You have made this process much easier for us to endure, considering the emotional toll it has taken on us all. I really do appreciate your assistance, but most of all, care. This is just one of several examples of how Mrs. Wood has positively impacted the lives of the students of the John H. Walker Middle School. This past school year, Mrs. Wood served on the school-wide middle school model team. As a key contributor to this team, she has been seeking out ways to make not only our guidance program, but the entire middle school program better for the students of Nutley. Joyce Wood is truly an asset to the John H. Walker Middle School community. Please join me in congratulating her for all of her efforts this year and in the past. Nominee for the Governor's Teacher Recognition Program, Mrs. Joyce Wood.
Mr. Williams, Nutley High School.
As we move it forward here in the district, I gave a lot of thought to my selection for the Teacher of the Year this year. We talk about strategic planning, we talk about competencies, we talk about what the kids should be doing in an interdisciplinary fashion. And when I selected Robin Powell, who has been a health and PE teacher for over 20 years, I didn't have to think long, because before we even as a district pursued any of this strategic planning or anything we've been doing, which is all great, when I first started as a VP, I had just a wonderful experience that I'm not even sure she's aware of. I was doing my hall rounds, making sure nobody was smoking outside the building, et cetera, and I go by the gym class, and I don't know what everybody's experience in high school gym was in this room, but for the adolescent learner, sometimes gym can be a challenge. It can be a challenge to change your clothes. It can be a challenge to participate, et cetera, but not in Miss Powell's class. I walked by the gymnasium, and I peeked in, and it was just a flurry of engaged activity. There was a visually impaired student participating in a game she had made up. All the students were actively involved, and there was a joy of participation evident in the gymnasium classroom. And I thought about that, that was over 3 years ago, and I still think about it to this day. It's exemplary of the type of teaching that inspires all of us. And I think in her health classes and her gym classes, she goes above and beyond. She's invented games. There's a new game now, as the students behind the camera laugh, Quidditch, that students are involved in, and they love it. It's her passion for teaching. It's her respect for her students. She is part of what we're trying to do. She's part of my instructional rounds team. She's been part of the middle stage process. She gets it. She gets it in the right way. She's been with us for quite some time. She has the onerous job of being the equipment manager for all our athletic teams. She does a great logistical job. Everything she does and she cares about. And I think she'll continue to inspire me after tonight. So would you please welcome and congratulate Ms. Robin.
Ladies and gentlemen, we don't do it often enough, but we do appreciate everything you do, that your colleagues do, and tonight hopefully recognize that we do care, we do notice. You're going to see in front of you not just leaders in the classroom, leaders in their association, leaders in their building when it comes to staff, but we have members of almost every critical initiative that's going on in the district now, between our middle school model, our high school middle states, instructional rounds. You have technology leadership in front of you. You see curriculum leadership when it comes to language arts, math, and science. Everyone from counselors and teachers. You have one of the teachers running our teacher study group, which is a thankless sometimes job. We appreciate everything you're doing, and if you want to look to leaders, ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the ones that we have and some of our best. And we just want to congratulate them as well. So congratulations.
I know we dismissed the students because they have homework, and I'm sure
Teachers
some of
have
our
to go make
teachers
their homework. We have to go during all of the yesterday plan for tomorrow, so
You're also allowed to leave. At this time, folks, we are going to be going into executive session probably for no more than a half hour, I certainly would hope. But I have to leave a note, whereas the Board of Education will be discussing matters exempt from public discussion pursuant to NJSA 10-4-12. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Education recess to close executive session at this time to discuss high-tech litigation. Motion.
Second.
thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. Try and move as quickly as possible. I know it's already been a long meeting. Our long-range facilities planning committee met this evening. I know Ms. Stanczyk-Martin will be making a statement about that. School performance report meetings continue. Our next meeting is at the Yanacross School tomorrow night, 6:30 in Yanacross School. And our final two will be at the middle school here next Tuesday, again 6:30, and then at the high school, 6:30 on Thursday. At the high school meeting, once again, as I've been saying, we'll be presenting data not just on the high school itself based on the school performance report, but data also combining all of our P12 data across the elementary schools, by elementary school, through the middle school, and into the high school. Our instructional rounds, again, our final instructional rounds is scheduled for 30th. The high school will visit Radcliffe School. June 4th is on the agenda right now to bring the entire network together to make plans for next year. Combining with our LPDC, we need Ms. Malani and Ms. Christian travel the districts last Tuesday, I believe it was, conveying the new process that we'll be using for all professional development processes linked to Danielson, which is the language of our evaluations, and more importantly, to the language of instructional rounds and goal setting, so that all the different pieces that we're using to evaluate how we're doing in the classroom are connected with one language and one focus, which is student achievement. My high school forum day is actually this Friday. This Friday I'll be in the high school again to meet with students during lunch periods. We had a terrific turnout last time. I had some very good conversation myself, Mr. Williams, Mr. Villia, and Mr. Mencia. And we'll be doing that again for May, scheduling one for June as well. State and local assessments, we are right in the middle of state testing. Books downstairs we're trying to get out. But at this point, I believe the middle school is officially done and out. We're at the elementary level moving forward. We've already done our pre-ask 1 and 2, and our readiness assessments for our vector classes are ongoing. Academics, our science pilot K3 is still underway. Mr. Bania is working with those teachers to come up with recommendations. Again, we have a $30,000 donation from Roche, which we'll be looking to add to make sure we can outfit as many elementary classrooms as possible consistently with new science materials. Our math coming to the end of this month, but Ms. Martin will be meeting with Ms. Malani, going through the data as the teachers created to make sure we're prepared to make a recommendation immediately. Again, our goal is to have teaching materials in the hands of the teachers before the end of the year, so we can work with them over the summer. We will have professional development on the new class series, whatever the successful series, the chosen series is, moving forward so teachers are prepared. Our language arts model classroom trainings ended for this year's Tier 1. Those teachers will continue to be supported beginning again in September. We're currently selecting Tier 2, and training for Tier 2 will begin in the summer. We're also working with our consultant and the teachers who are involved in Tier 1 to select the necessary materials to outfit every elementary classroom for September. to make sure that we can begin this kind of instruction supported by the right resources. I was, again, part of Campaign Connect down in Princeton last week. The goal is to develop a system where we can measure and certify districts in their support of students' social and emotional growth. There are about 30 stakeholders involved, from K-12 districts to local organizations, advocacies, higher institutions of higher learning, and the rest, all run by the Princeton Center for Leadership, again, to come up with a way where we can encourage whole districts to support the entire student, including professional development and the certificate that will actually appear on the district's website to show that they are meeting certain standards and providing certain programs in support of students. The Essex County Awards Dinner was held recently. Our salutatorian and valedictorian were honored as were all these salutatorian and valedictorians from Essex County at Menina's. We heard from the Teacher of the Year and got to spend an evening enjoying their success and preparing to go off to college. I was able to attend with Mr. Kaczynski on the long Thursday, the Spring Choral Festival at the high school. I want to congratulate Mr. Kandari and all the parents and certainly the students for an incredible performance which helped culminate an incredible season that they've had this year. And I know sometimes you're surprised at how things go and end up. And talking to Mr. Kandari, it was one of those special years. And so congratulations to everyone involved. Speaking of congratulations, I want to thank the board for supporting our Sea Perch national team. They were invited to nationals, having won in New York, as we talked about. They were competing this weekend. We're still waiting to hear from Mr. Vanny, who is back. All the students are back. They have not officially released the results, but based on what the initial feedback we're getting, our students did extremely well. And what Mr. Vanny wanted to point out is that we're one of the few comprehensive public schools in the competition. Most of the schools we're competing against were small magnet schools or private schools. Who, by the way, focused in science. And so we're anxious to hear what happened there. As an update, we continue to work with the town, with Tom Nicolette, regarding the district-wide emergency drills that we were going to run based on Sandy and other things that came up this year. It never actually took place as scheduled. They're now looking, the town is actually now looking to push that off into October of next year. And we're working with them to make sure that that's available and appropriate. We continue to run our security drills every month at each school. And I know Mr. Kaczynski will talk a piece about that. We're working on our communication system to ensure that we have the appropriate communication system to make sure that every single school is as secure as it possibly can be. Our Junior Olympics are May 23rd. We're hoping for sun. The High School Art Festival, June 3rd. And I want to thank Mr. Capel and Mrs. Casilli, who have been going around presenting here as part of the middle school, but also as part of our K-12 guidance program, which we're trying to build regular work with parents and community members in support of our students. The two of them have been doing that as far as raising a healthy teenager. As far as getting specific to the students, Teen Media Contest, Carrie Zhang won first place in the middle school category, receiving a bond, a plaque of achievement, and two one-day passes to Great Adventure. It was a state recognition. She was in a statewide competition, and Mr. Courtwright was able to go down and support her, but it was an excellent achievement for her. Kevin Lee, who's a Nutley High School student, was the winner of a National Merit Nelson F. Peterson Scholarship, sponsored by Hoffman LaRoche. There are about 240 companies and businesses who finance National Merit Scholarships finalists, and he was selected from a group of approximately 15,000 students. So congratulations to him. Our radio and TV broadcasting classes have been busy. May 3rd, the TV production classes hosted a press conference to promote their schools campaign. It focused on someone who had recently lost, a person who had recently lost to distracted driving, and they were running an informational campaign to make the community more aware of distracted driving, how its impact and how it can be avoided. The JAM Awards were held, and Mr. Ackerman and Mr. Kelly attended the JAM Awards with students, and happy to report that we received an award for Best Public Service Production across the state from New Jersey schools. Our nation's news opening received the award of state finalist, and it really is a show of what we're doing with technology in the buildings, and congratulations to Mr. Kelly and all the students who were involved. Princeton University, I'm happy to announce this. Princeton University every year recognizes teachers from across the state. It is a highly selective process. You have to be nominated from your building. It's incredibly taxing application process. Once you're in the process, they have a committee of people who are selected from across the state to review the applications, and they determine teams that they then send out to the buildings to visit specific finalists. Just to be nominated and selected as the top 10 is an incredible honor. But I'm happy to report that Mrs. Dean Sapansky, who is one of our world language teachers at the high school, will be honored at Princeton University graduation on June 4th, having received one of the, I believe it's 4, University Distinguished Secondary School Teaching Awards. So congratulations. Students in our fine art classes have been busy. They're in the final stages of their Pride of Nutley pedestrian walk art contest in cooperation with Commissioner Scarpelli. The artwork has been submitted and voting is taking place. We're creating finalists this week, and they're presenting awards most likely at the Arts Festival in June. Law Day, just on top of our academically speaking, on Friday the 10th, students in Lincoln Spring Garden and Yannicott School participate in the Law Day activity sponsored by the New Jersey State Bar Association. And again, it really does give the students that authentic feel of learning. It puts them in a real life situation that they prepared for with an authentic audience. We have professionals volunteer their time to come in. It's a phenomenal experience, and I thank all of our professionals, all of our educators who are involved in setting up, all the professionals who come in to help judge the work and make it meaningful for the students. And then certainly congratulations to all the students who were defendants, witnesses, and jurors, as well as certainly those who participated as prosecutor or defense attorneys. And finally, Essex County Bar Association Essay Contest, Crystal Mugua, who's one of our 7th graders, earned 3rd place across the county, as judged by the members of the Bar Association's committee, as well as Daniel Carabolo, who another 7th grader earned an honorable mention. So congratulations. I hope these kinds of announcements, both to the board and publicly, let everyone see how diverse the kind of work that we have going on, so the environment that we create for our students, the things we allow them to do. So thanks to the board and congratulations to everyone involved.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Are we going to deal with the board secretary's report? Committee reports. Ms. Flynn, anything? Committee reports.
Okay, I have for the district evaluation advisory committee report. This month, I attended a meeting, it was about 2 weeks ago, talking about the process of implementing the new evaluation process in the district. There's a meeting tomorrow. So far, there's been a good conversation, a lot of questions being asked of the superintendent that have been brought from members of the staff, and he's been answering them and giving us data. So we're putting together the information for purposes of rollout. He will be doing that. I guess we're at the point, though, in determining of what role the board would have in this, so that'll be part of my discussion tomorrow. How to be reported back.
Anything else?
Positive feedback from about the performance reports. Positive. I'll wait in old business.
Mr. Klein, anything? Mr. Swirl?
Yes, I have a couple different ones. We held an administrative committee meeting on May 16th here at the board offices. Quite a bit went on. We had the first group from the strategic planning. We had the action team in charge of competency come in front of us, and they proposed their framework to us. We had a great update on athletics. I will tell you that it was a tremendous meeting with Mr. Pyra. At the meeting, of course, was Mr. Kaczynski, myself, Mr. Spizzato, Mr. Lazovic. Went over spring sports. We went over about some coaching I'll review in a minute. Summer camps to be hosted by the athletic department, and about some facility improvements. We were actually presented by the Mr. Pyra, the Nutley Athletic Department. There was a coaching evaluations process he put in place, and it's excellent, and it delineates what he does for coaches, assistant coaches, and the 3-step process. And what I really thought was unique, he developed a new thing, and I love it. It's called, there's going to be slogans all over the high school, Developing the Student Athlete. And it's done the High School Athletic Department Coaching Professional Development Program. Goes through all the different steps, and in fact, onto college programs and training that's going to occur for all of the coaches mandatorily over the summer. I thought it was a great meeting, and I thank Mr. Pyra, because I think he did a great job preparing for it. On communications, Mr. Lazovic mentioned a little bit, but at our next administrative meeting. We're going to have a company come in front of us, talk about setting up permanent communications in all the schools. We went over long-range planning, facility planning, high school parking lot. If you can see, it's done. We're squared away there. We're looking at some different issues in the next different parking lots, some other areas that might be completed this year. We went over some new job descriptions. You'll see if you go to the website, there are currently staffed, there's about 33 open positions there. We talked about special services, central office, buildings and grounds. There are about 33 positions listed there today if you go that are open, in district and out of district. We went over the budget, some of the first and second reading on policies. That was pretty much it for the admin meeting.
Anything else?
Two on music?
Yes, Mr. Tony.
Okay. Well, first I talk about the, and Mr. Gandari is here, but the choir that went to the Corlettes, first time ever in the history of Nutley that the choirs have performed in the Kennedy Center. It was tremendous to be there. It was a great night out. And then I'll jump to the spring concert. And again, Mr. Lazovic mentioned part of it, but I have to single out that we have students, and Mr. Gandari went through a lot of them, but Matt O'Donnell, and I joked about it. He's an Irishman that did 2 Italian operas tremendously, and he was already accepted at New England Conservatory, but that was for Juilliard that he just performed those.
They're a pre-college program.
Thank you. Pre-college qualification program, so he just performed them at Juilliard. If he did it the same way he did for us the other night, I have no doubt for him. In fact, Mr. Williams still here, but we were talking, and he goes, "We'll see him on Broadway soon," because it was that good. And I also learned there, and I will say this here, that we have a music academy. I did not want to have one in Zero Period. That a lot of the girls and Matt that sang that night are part of on Zero Period. And I also thought a great part of that was as you walk outside, we had art all on display, and it was copies of the art. It's been in for competition done by our students here. You had to see the artwork that was done in that lobby. It was great. Just one last thing, then jumping over to the Music Boosters. The Nutley Music Boosters on May 23rd at 6:30 at the Chandelier will have their award ceremony. It's $25. It is open to the public and board members, where they're going to be honoring the graduating students from the orchestra and the band and the instrumentals. So our music program, our arts program, was a great time. Thank you, Mr.
Cote.
Yes, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on May 14th. At that meeting, we also had updates from strategic planning, two of the committees, the communication and community committees. At that meeting, we reviewed the various resolutions in tonight's agenda. We reviewed, we got an update on the auditors are reviewing our financials, both operational and for the referendum. We talked about potential uses of any excess money in this year's operational budget. Those uses, as recommended by the superintendent and business administrator, included instructional resources. We talked about paying off the 2009 PERS pension deferral, where the state is charging us 8.5% interest on the outstanding balance. We talked about tree removals and trimming. We also talked about some capital projects that would be coming out of our operational budget, including parking lots and bleachers in the stadium, which need to be repaired, and the field house there. Referendum. With respect to the referendum money, there's still one outstanding bill out there for Vesta. We discussed a little bit about looking at the administrative committees looking at potential uses of the referendum money. We got an update on the fiber network, where the county is proceeding to connect our buildings into it also, and what costs and options we have with respect to that. As usual, we reviewed the 5-year financial projection. We had some additional data. This is a thing that we're going to put on the agenda for almost every meeting, so that we look out into the future, into the 5 years, and it ties into the various other committees that are going on. And ultimately, everything comes down to finances and money. So we want to make sure that those resources are planning for those resources in the budgets. We reviewed the state aid calculation. Mrs. Yeamans went over the formulas with us, and she also discussed SEMI, Medicaid revenue funding from the state, and something we have not availed ourselves in the past, and we're going to proceed with that. Mrs. Yeamans updated us on the 2013-2014 staffing requirements. And finally, we talked about the utility. We got an update on the utility bills. The SEM went out for a second bids, and that came out too high, and now they're in the process of negotiating rates. And we also talked about joining in on their effort for gas, to go out for bids for a gas line. Thank you.
Okay, the academic committee met on Thursday, May 16th. Mr. Materia presented year-end summary for the curriculum committee of the strategic planning committee. He reviewed the updated program review document, the one-year work of the committee, and the two-year goals. Ms. Villani discussed the high school work-study program. The district is in the process of looking for best ways to grow and expand the program. We also spoke about job descriptions. Like many of our policies, we have to go through our job descriptions and update them within regular intervals. As Mr. Lazovic discussed, we went over all the curriculum pilot updates for language arts, math, and also science. And then we reviewed the field trips, requests for the upcoming overnight and out-of-state field trips, which are included in the agenda. I also have the long-range facility committee. We met earlier today with Dr. Haber to review the draft of demographic and enrollment analysis. And based on the current and future numbers, the district will have to take some sort of action to accommodate the projected number of students in line with state guidelines and best practices. We are also awaiting the reports from the architect to review availability and configuration of space in each building and all of our options.
Thank you. We now come to the portion of our meeting where we allow members of the public to address the board. In this section, we allow questions or comments on only the resolutions addressed in tonight's agenda. Our board regulation 601 allows 20 minutes for these communications. Each person should be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try to stay within this requirement. Speakers may speak more than once, only after all of those wishing to speak on a topic have been heard. All statements will be directed to me as the chairperson. No one may address board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, your participation may be terminated. Remember to always state your name and address each and every time you address the board. The first person would like to come forward, Mr. Thomas. Only because you were rising out of your seat, so I have to let
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Alan Thomas, 108 McKinley Street. Mr. President, financial resolution number 9 has undergone a change from the online version to the version that's available this evening. 2 paragraphs or 2 whereas clauses were added, and I'm just wondering if you can get an explanation for that. Finance resolution number 9.
No, I don't think that's the one you're looking
Not right? Then we'll go back. It's the one about the garbage. 14. 14.
We had a suggestion from one of our knowledgeable board members that we should probably include the 2 highlighted, actually it would be the 3rd paragraph and the 4th paragraph to better clarify some issues. We also are extending this contract, as you see. We still are waiting to talk with the town. We've spoken to Mr. Rogers. That contract, he's had to extend his contract, so I pretty much understand at the end of this time and his time, we'll be on the same page, and then we plan on going out together. But the 3rd and 4th paragraph were suggestions from one of our board members that we think would make this clear and make sure we're covered.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just finally, Mr. President, at the last board meeting, I asked that that board policy, proposed policy changes be put online for review for the town, and that was done, and I want to thank you and the superintendent for making sure that got done. I appreciate that very much.
Not a problem. Thank you. Did we do something wrong? Hearing no one else, Ms. Nanchek, will you take academic resolutions 1 through 3?
Yes, Mr. President, I move academic resolutions 1 through 3 as written.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. Capuzzo, please. I'm sorry, any discussion on that? Roll call.
Mrs. Stanchek Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Kupka?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Pizzano?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Mr. Solera, will you take administration resolutions 1 through 3?
Yes, Mr. Kinski, I'd like to move administration resolutions 1 through 3 as written.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, sure. I'd just like to take this opportunity, and Mr. Thomas alluded to it, that have the policies are put online, and I'd like to call the public's attention particularly to policy 142, which is the roles and basically the roles and responsibilities of board members. And I think that if the public should be, maybe should be aware of that. Our role in this policy-making, planning, and appraisal. And it's necessary that we are appraised, that we know what's going on, people let us know. But I think it's also important that they go through the chain of command in trying to get things done, and that that we are not a source of employment for your friends and relatives and things of that nature. I just thought I would say that publicly, that this is an opportunity, that this is out there now, and we're approving it tonight, and I just want to highlight that.
It's a very good point, Mr. Cook, and I appreciate your frankness. Thank you. Ms. Baker.
I would just add to that, although I can't specifically say it, I know as a board, we've been working very hard to define that line and working very hard to maintain it, and I think it's commendable that we're doing it, and we're very cognizant of it all the time and discussing it actively, and I think it demonstrates how this board is working in that regard, so I think it's good that we continue to adhere to this code of conduct.
And again, another good point, and I applaud the board for the direction we have been taking. And thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, Mr. Capuzzo.
Mrs. Stanchek Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Kupka?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Pizzano?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Mr. Cook, will you take finance resolutions 1 through 16?
Yes, Mr. President. I move finance resolutions 1 through 16 as written.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, Mr. Capuzzo. I'm sorry.
I just want to ask about this Vespa Electric change order. This was for September 2010, and I remember we did discuss this, I think, about a year ago. This is a night differential that they were supposed to have work done in a certain period of time, and they couldn't get it done, so they started working nights, and I don't understand why we have to pay for the differential.
At the request of the board at that particular time, and the request of the business administrator at that time, with the work that had to be done, they could not fit it into the daily work. From what I understand, as much as we've been able to trace it back to that original time, and I have most of the emails here in front of me, this has been an ongoing issue with this particular company. I spent some time with Mrs. Jamins and with Phil Nicoletti, and we discussed that issue, and their feeling was that the board at the time had given the business administrator and Vespa Electric the right to do it at different hours than might have originally been agreed upon.
Mr. President, we had discussed this also at the Finance Committee meeting, and Mrs. Avens indicated that one of the problems that occurred at the time was that additional power had to be brought into the high school. There was inadequate power. Vespa couldn't do what they had to do until that was completed, and that pushed the whole schedule back and pushed it into, they were working during the school year. And that's why the overtime, and that Mrs. Yeaman has been negotiating with them and actually has gotten the number down to 18,000, and originally was much higher.
Originally, I think it was 36,000.
She got it cut in half this last round, but I think prior to that, it was even higher than that. So we felt at the Finance Committee meeting that this was a good resolve for the issue. And then the only other question might be is that the original design, which when they were doing, whoever did the design, didn't take into account that there was sufficient power coming into the high school, and that caused this to happen. So, do we go after somebody else? But for 18,000, is it worth the legal fees to go after? That's the question.
Yes.
So I also followed up directly with Mr. Nicoletti, and it was work that could not be done while the kids were in school. So if we were going to complete it, it had to be after hours. I have to state everything, and I have everything here from the documentation, the emails, Mr. Nicoletti, and I think the company, Vespa, acted in good faith at that time, charged by the board. Mr. Nicoletti followed up because I wanted to make sure the permits were filed, the inspections were done. I spoke with him on it, the work was satisfactory, and there was no other time because of delay with the architects. They were supposed to be done with summer with the engineers, and that's a different issue. So at $18,000, in good faith, they did the work, and I think we'll never get any more documentation that we have to move forward.
Ms. Flynn.
I'm very pleased that Ms. Humans was able to negotiate that. The problem with this change order has been for me from the beginning, and it still remains. And I don't want to try to be a barrier to paying someone who did work. The problem is that they did this work and there was no clear parameters as to what the cost was for this night differential. There was no approval by this board to authorize that. And as far as I understand it, there's no contract terms. Because if there were contract terms, a resolution, a letter from the PA, someone else identifying all of those things, this wouldn't be an issue. Ms. Humans would not have had to negotiate these terms. She had to because those are the missing documents. So to the extent that Vespa believes they have a legal action against us, I'm unclear what documents they're going to rely upon. Except I know they did the work, but you do work for a public entity, you better have a resolution authorizing that work, plus all the documents. We don't have that in this case, and that's my only problem. I mean, I believe they should be paid for something that they did. My problem continues to be, I'm sorry I missed the finance meeting, but I don't know what they could have done. There is no document contemporaneous to this work being performed that says, yes, you can go ahead and do this work. These are the terms, and for this board to see, to determine, assess whether or not this is reasonable. I probably think it's reasonable because the number was high originally, but for us, it gives an appearance issue as to, well, what do they, I mean, that's my only concern.
I just said one thing here, so.
No, time out. Anything else, Ms. Flynn?
Okay, so Mr. Nicoletti was told by the board to follow it up. If we were to go to case, Mr. Nicoletti would have to state that he was directed to have them do this. He followed it, he did the inspections, he was told to have it done. So somebody, I mean, could have been a business administrator, we don't know who, and asked that, but he was told to have the work performed at those hours. So I think we still have a question whether the paperwork's missing or not. We'd have our own employees testifying a different statement against us.
There's no doubt the work was done. We all agree on that. If the procedure that led up to having the work done was properly covered, I wasn't on the board, I don't think any of us were, so I still don't know that it's right to hold the contractor liable for the work that he was requested to do.
Right, but Ms. Yeamans doesn't have the authority to request a large change order like that. Doesn't she only have up to a certain amount of money?
She wasn't here.
But the board has the
Right, did we pass a resolution though, okay?
Well, no, I don't think we did at the time, but what I wanted to say was that, looking back 3 years, it was 2010, so it's been 3 years. And we should make sure that we have controls going in place going forward, and I think that Ms. Flynn, I think that's the important thing, that we're the lesson learned from this, but to hold the contractor at bay when he was told by people within the district to go ahead and do the work, that I don't think is right. I think we would pay him. But I also think we ought to make sure that we have controls and processes in place that prevent this from happening again.
All right, I think thanks to this new board and certainly Mr. Flynn, we do have that in place, but it's still a little bit of a black eye for us as a board, or embarrassment for us as a board, that the procedure was not followed properly at the time. I don't know what we can do about it except move forward in good faith. Any other discussion? Ms. Danchek? Roll call, Mr. Kuzo.
Mrs. Dancheck Norton?
Yes to all except for 16.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes to all except for resolution number 16.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mr. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. Mr. Sposato, will you take resolution personnel, resolution 1 and 2, please?
Yes, Mr. President. I move personnel resolutions 1 and 2 as written.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dancheck Norton?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Sposato?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes. In this section, we allow questions or comments on all school-related matters. Our regulations allow 30 minutes for these communications. Again, each person shall be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try to stay within this requirement. As I stated earlier, all statements will be directed to me as above. At this time, we'll take any questions on any matters.
Terry Quirk, 45 Hampton Place, spokesperson for the Nutley Parent Advocacy Network.
Diane Bolton, 53 Lakeside Drive, representative of Arrow CTAC.
Today, we're here to basically bring forth some issues that we have in regards to special ed. We wanted to share with you some good news and some things that we have concerns about. The first thing that we'd like to talk about is a concern that we have. We had a CPAC meeting, and we really were talking about concerns that we have in regards to parents' concerns that come to us with children that have disabilities. And one of the disabilities that really stands out among everything is the disability of ADD, or attention deficit disorder, or ADHD. And one of the reasons being is that those particular individuals are so disorganized. Their behavior is not focused. They have trouble in classrooms. They have trouble at home. They have trouble globally. Everybody has problems with them. So we really wanted to come up with an idea as to what we can do to help them, not just so much parents or the teachers, but to help them. So we came up with the idea to have a workshop for the teachers with a person who does what is known as brain gym, and it's a series of exercises that is really developed by neuroscience to help these children regulate their behaviors. So we contacted Mr. Lasvik, and he approved of the idea of sitting down with one of our elementary school principals to discuss the possibility of having this one particular workshop in each elementary school. Would be probably a lunch and learn, where this person would come in and teach this skill to the teachers. So that's where we're at. We had a meeting with Mrs. LaGuardia. She was wonderful, and we're at that point where we'd like to plan as to what we can do. And the whole point of this too is to kind of open up the communication between the parents and the teachers, because everybody's frustrated with these kids, and most importantly, they are frustrated with themselves. So we'd like for the teachers to understand that they're not alone in this. We understand that, we recognize it, and we want to be all on the same page with how do we help these kids do the best that they can within the classroom. So we thank you, Mr. Lasvik, for that and opening up that opportunity. I know that some people are a little nervous about lunch and learns. This is something that is totally voluntary. NPN would provide a lunch for the teachers who are interested. And we just would like to open up that lines of communication. So our goal is to do this in each elementary school for next year or the year after. So that's what we just wanted to let you know that that's in the works, and hopefully, we'll be able to pull that off. Okay.
And we're also kind of working on incorporating those CEU credits into those workshops as well, so that teachers can earn their credits towards continuing education. On a separate note, I saw on the website that we do have a posting for the supervisor who assists the director of special services. Is it safe to assume that that position has been filled for July 1st? Has it not been filled? It's not been filled. We have a plan for the director. I guess I kind of assumed that maybe the director's position was filled since it was not on the website as a posting. So I'm guessing that's a no.
You started with supervisor, director?
Director.
Director. We'll be making a recommendation that Dr. Shippenhouse actually be appointed as official director starting July 1.
Okay.
And as far as the supervisor, that position is currently open.
Okay.
And we're looking for a follow the same procedure we followed last time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a little taken aback, but I'll digest that. I'm a little caught off guard because the feedback that I'm getting from the parents is that she doesn't seem to have that lack of knowledge. But, I'm speaking at a turn, and that's kind of not fair, but that's something you and I will discuss, I guess, at a different time. And I also wanted to just quickly mention, getting back to the workshops, we were thinking about also providing webinars and those CEU credits as well.
I just have a couple of other questions. When will the lunch aides be appointed for next year? Will that be at the June meeting, one of the June meetings? Okay. And I have another question. On the December 17th meeting, I had asked a question in regards to Dr. Bizzario. Has there been any payment to Dr. Bizzario from that time to now?
Yes, I believe so. We've been billed. I'll say yes, but I'm almost certain we have actually already paid.
Oh, okay. And I just have one more. It's not a concern. It's actually giving you some information. You talked about security measures that you've taken. I just wanted to share with you. Last month, one of the schools, actually two of our schools in my district in Saddlebrook, we had a lockdown, a real one. It was from a bank robbery that was occurring within a few blocks. And I have to tell you that after Sandy Hook, having a lockdown, and when they come through the microphone and they're like, this is a lockdown for real, this is not a drill. And we were in a lockdown situation for over an hour, not knowing what was going on, being, having to keep our kids quiet. It was terrifying, to say the least. After that, we had some discussion about what can we do, because we were literally on our phones emailing, or not emailing, or texting one another saying, what's going on? Do you know what's going on? To other colleagues in the school. I actually texted my husband to have him contact the police, literally, because I didn't know what was going on. No one did. I did have an opportunity to speak to the deputy chief of police there, and he said that they are working with the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office in regards to proactive measures, but he did talk about the fact that they wanted to use something called sharewith911.com. I don't know if anybody has heard of that. It's really a very neat, it's what it is as a teacher, if you have your phone, you, in an emergency situation, you hook up to the command center, and they will give you reports as to if you evacuate, if you need medical attention within your classroom, all of this information. I did have an opportunity after having that conversation with the deputy chief. I got on the phone with Mayor Petracco, and I shared that information with him, and he said he was going to contact, speak to Chief Holland about it. But I just wanted to let you know that that was pretty terrifying, and it's real, and it's something that maybe we can think about it. But if you can check that out for sharewith911.com, it's a very interesting situation. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just one more quick question. question regarding our interim, who's soon to be our director. Her purpose was supposed to provide us with a clear picture of how our special ed department is functioning. Do we have that picture, and will you share it with the public?
She has been giving us updated information. I'm updating the board as it comes, and we're looking by the end of the year to have a larger presentation as to where we are and where we want to be by the end of next year.
So we're looking at the end for June's meeting?
Before
we're
this
gonna have that?
academic, yes.
Thank you.
She'll be speaking here.
I don't know, she'll be speaking, but we'll be talking, updating the public as to what we found so far.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other citizens wish to be heard? At this time, all business. New business. Ms. Flynn is looking. No problem, go ahead. You're back home?
It's from Washington School. Following, there was a PTO meeting following the presentation I've done. They asked us to give them feedback as it relates to parking again and the issues and like some
The update, there is no real update now. We're waiting for Commissioner Scarpelli. We're dealing with him on the...
I met with Commissioner Scarpelli last week. There's a delay in the safe routes to schools, which we're waiting for because they're going to repair the sidewalk on the west side of the building. And once it happens, we want to move forward. We actually talked, Mr. Kaczynski and I met with a number of representatives from a few of the commissions on how we actually designate a stop, drop, and go area for the morning drop-off. The afternoon still is a concern, but part of that entails that the sidewalk in that area on the west side of the building actually being fixed. So right now, that's unfortunately slowed down, but we're still looking for them to make it happen as an interim, so they actually can catch up with the grant and move that forward.
Yeah, in the interim, what are we going to, like, have there been conversations besides that to do, like, tomorrow? Because they are very concerned. They said there was like a planter or something that got hit again.
Yes, right. I don't want to remove the planter.
It's one way.
We consistently meet with Mr. Jones and take the feedback from the PTO as we looked at him last Thursday, both for the drop-off and for pickup. And it continues to be somewhat of an issue, but we're trying to communicate with the parents as the best way to handle it now. We talk about everything from just doing cones and such to try and set a culture where we can stop, drop, and go. But there are large issues when it comes to staffing. This is what we're trying to resolve right now. We can't drop off the students if there are going to be people there to oversee the students before school starts. And that's what we're working on right now.
It is definitely an ongoing issue.
I know, they just wanted to give them up.
Absolutely.
So they're no more communities, but I'll let their executive board know that we're still working on it. That's right.
Any other old business? Any new business? I do have some new business myself. I happened to see them starting to work on the oval today on the new seats there. So they've got the forms. They're starting to put the forms together, which is progress.
She says it's a shared service, so we need to tell that.
Well, we're still waiting. What they're doing right now is general maintenance. But again, we've been working again with Commissioner Scarpelli and some of the town masons. We have brought in a third-party company just to give us a breakdown of what's been going on, no charge to the district. They're presenting us with a multifaceted plan, different solutions that we can take. Our goal right now is to make sure that we're not doing a year-to-year patch job, but we want to make sure that we put the resources in that are necessary. They're going to give us another 10 years with the old before to really be concerned about the foundation. We want to make sure it's safe. And that represents the town. It's not just that we recognize it's the center of town. It's not just a school facility. It's used for so many different events, and we want to make sure it's something we can be proud of and use safely.
Thank you. On their old business, I also want to comment on the concert. That was a night of 5 different functions, I think, going on that particular night, and Mr. Kandari was outstanding. I was impressed. And I'm not a concert goer, but it was outstanding. It was a nice performance, and there was nothing. People standing in the back of the room who follow you and what goes on in your performances were speechless. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
One other problem. Go ahead.
The school performance reports. We've all been making our rounds, sitting in those very comfortable auditorium seats. very long
They're made for little children,
presentation.
not adults.
They're getting shorter. Anyway.
The presentations of the seats.
The presentation. What I found interesting in terms of Mrs. LaGuardia, she had looked at the different peer schools to see what they're doing, to compare to see what we could be doing as a district. And one of the things I thought was pretty interesting is that she found the peer schools that were performing better than the Spring Garden within that group. They had already implemented the reading workshop that the administration is presently working on trying to pilot, that is being piloted, and which has been getting overwhelmingly positive feedback from the reports from the superintendent. So I thought that was a good indicator of what's to come. As well as she found that the higher performing schools were using the math programs that we're presently piloting, and even switching. So it was two. It's good news in a lot of ways to me to see that we're moving in the right direction. You know, the teachers were very involved in the selection of that math program, and they selected what seems to be really working for a lot of school districts. The flip side was, to me, is that I know a lot of parents were saying, okay, when are we getting it? And I think we need to be clear to the public as to how long it's going to take to roll out these programs, and I think there's some frustration that it's going to take so long because we wanted yesterday. Because even, Ms. LaGuardia, you mentioned, like, some of those different schools have implemented one of the math pilot programs that they're using, and now they're switching to a different one. So I don't know, it's a desire, and I think we as a finance committee need to start looking at how are we going to roll these things out as quickly as possible to provide the best opportunity.
I was going to say, I mean, the question is a question of resources and, what the process, to roll it out. Is it going to take is it going to take 3 years because we've got the professional development and we don't have the funds for the professional development? There's no other way to do this. That would be my question.
It's going, as we all know, it's going to be a learning process for all of us. I'm glad to see that a lot of the programs that other districts are using, we've already started to implement, and I'm looking forward to next year's report, which I think hopefully will show some progress. But as we all know, it's an ongoing process. Yes.
I mean, from what I'm taking from it, seeing the several that I've seen, Mr. Lasby does a great job of detailing exactly how we're going about data-driven instruction, which isn't new to Nutley, but it's being emphasized. Also, it's getting the conversation going in the community regarding academics.
And that's what this is really ultimately supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and throughout the last 2 weeks, I've been engaged in several conversations about academics. And it's always nice to talk about football and, Mr. Bernard's wondrous work. But, when we speak about academics, that's why we're here. And on board, we've done a good job beginning and ending the conversations with academics, but to have it translate to the community, that's what we need in order to take us to the next level.
Like he says, tomorrow night is Yannick, and then next week will be the interesting one with the middle school and high school. So I hope to see some of our board members there. It's an exciting presentation. It is very interesting.
It'll be next week.
And they're not on the
It'll be next
website
week,
yet.
yes.
His presentations aren't on the website yet.
No, as soon as Yannick is done, I talked to Mr. Viametri about it today. When Yannick is done, all 5 will be up.
Any other new business? Any other new business? I have one more thing that I would like the board to consider on the new business. The presentations that we had tonight for Teacher of the Year, I was wondering if the board would consider some type of maybe a plaque to put in their school, like Employee of the Year. I don't know what else we can do for them except just thank them for the
I
great
thought
job
we
they
should have given
did.
them, I thought really we should have given them a certificate tonight.
We have this in the past, we have, I'm not exactly sure what happens in St.
Okay.
but we will make sure, they all receive letters from me, when the decision is made. We haven't passed on them, so, sorry?
Yeah, that's a good point. The PTOs might be willing to donate some funds to acknowledge the teacher from their school. Something we should talk about. Okay.
Like a plaque.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. Parsons spot with high school.
Any other new business? Motion to adjourn. Whereas the board will be Okay. Whereas the Board of Education will be discussing matters exempt from public discussion pursuant to NJSA 10-14-12, now therefore be resolved, the Board of Education recess to close executive session at this time to discuss personnel and student matters. Be it further resolved that the result of the discussion will be made public by inclusion on the agenda of a subsequent meeting of the Board of Education, or when the reasons for discussing such matters in closed session no longer exists.
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.